Welcome back to the Delaware Way. A startling statistic in this state: 1 in 6 adults are reading at or below a third grade level. Someone who's trying to tackle that problem is Cynthia Shermeyer, Executive Director of Literacy Delaware. Let's start with an easy question. What is Literacy Delaware?
Literacy Delaware is a volunteer-based organization. We use volunteers that go through training, and then they work with small groups of adults who need to learn English or improve their literacy skills.
The 1 in 6 reading at or below a third grade level is startling. Where does that come from? Where do you get that statistic?
That comes from a study that was done and released in about 2013. The Program for International Assessment of Adult Competencies, we call it the PIAC, and Pro Literacy, which we're an affiliate of. And they did some surveying of countries internationally, and the startling thing, Larry, is that the United States scored below average in all 3 areas. The statistics for math is even lower, 1 in 3 adults.
But reading is such a basic skill that lends itself to everything.
Yes.
And those who do not have, or have not been taught to read properly, there's a stigma that goes along with it. There's a embarrassment that goes. They don't even know if they want to get help because they don't want to admit they have a problem. But it affects so many things in society. Talk about some of the things that it does affect.
Well, number one, it affects health care. We know through research that adults who have low literacy tend to have poorer health care, preventative health care. They don't understand like vaccinations and the importance of immunizations for their children.
Oh, you made me think of something I wasn't even thinking of, and that is that so much of the information we receive, so much of the important information we receive is reading it.
Yes,
and getting it that way. And if that's cut off from you, you're in this vacuum.
Exactly. One of our learners actually could not read and came to us, and she was diabetic, and she relied on her children to be able to read the dosage amounts that she needed to take to control the diabetes.
And there's statistics that show that if adults can't read at a certain level, their children are going to suffer.
Oh, absolutely. We know that a child whose parent has low literacy has a 72% chance of having low literacy themselves.
And obviously this is going to affect the unemployment rate, it's going to affect the tax base, it's going to affect the progress of an area, it's going to affect crime. I mean, it is prevalent.
It really is, and it's very difficult, as you had mentioned, because it's really difficult to come out at 45 years old or even 38 and say, I can't read, or I have my high school diploma and I'm reading at a kindergarten level.
Which makes the job difficult for you.
Yes.
To go out and get people to admit you have a problem, just so, I shouldn't say a problem, an education deficiency, let's put it that way, where you have to convince them to get help.
Yes, a lot comes by word of mouth. People know what we do, and so they'll tell neighbors and friends. We also get referrals from other social service agencies. We try and go into health fairs and other types of community events. One thing we're really excited about is that we're working with some schools, some elementary schools and Head Start, to do a 2-generational program, which is we're working with parents who send children to those schools to help them accomplish not necessarily a GED in a year, but to build up those skills so that they can eventually get a GED and get the better job, maybe go on for education, and really help their children out in school.
How do people get a hold of you if they know someone or if they are that person that would need your help?
Well, the best thing to do is just call the office at 302-658-5624 or our website, which is simply literacydelaware, all spelled out, .org. And we would love to talk with them, have them come in, talk a little bit about our program, assess their skills. We do give some assessments that are national standardized assessments, so that we give our tutors the information of what deficiencies or where the gaps are in their skills.
Right, you're also looking for tutors and volunteers as well,
my
of course.
goodness.
Yeah, and you know, I was just thinking when I said how do I find out, I was expecting a website. That's a hurdle. Just
It
going
can
to the
be.
internet to read it can be a hurdle.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Thank you so
it
much
can.
for coming in. I
You're
really
quite
appreciate your
welcome.
time. Cynthia
Thank you.
Shermeyer is the Executive Director of Literacy Delaware. That wraps up the Delaware Way for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with the Delaware Way. See you then.